الله دي مناظرة أو حوار بين النصارى والمسلمين. هذا مقدم البرنامج. وسبحان الله العظيم كل إنسان له خلاصة وله نظرية فيما يرى وما يقرأ وما يسمع إلى آخره. فأنا فكرتي ونظريتي في هذا الأمر سبحان مبدل الأحوال. هذا ربما أصله مسلم، ربما لأنه إيراني أصل، لكنه تنصر ويعيش في أمريكا وكان مقدم البرنامج أو هذه المناظرة. سبحان الله العظيم، يعني القلوب في يد الرحمن يقلبها كيف يشاء. وهذا رشيد يسمى بالبرادر، رشيد حمامي، وهو مغربي الأصل كما يقول، يعني كان مسلما فتنصر. وأنا في يقيني وأنا أعتقد أن رشيد يعلم علم اليقين أن ما هو فيه غلط، إنما هي الدنيا كما كان يعلم هامان أن فرعون ليس ربا، لكن بإطاعته ومدحه سيعيش من الأغنياء. هذا فكري في رشيد يقينا، وأستطيع أن أقسم على ذلك. يعني هذا العجيب، لأن من الناس من يعيش للدنيا ويعلم علم اليقين أن ما يفعله غلط وليس صحيح. وسنرى في المناظرة أن رشيد سيأتي بأمور حق الردة أو حكم الردة، ثم سيرد عليه ويفحم حتى أنه لن يستطيع أن يجد ماذا سيرد عليه، وأن كل الأمور التي يأخذها أهل الإسلام موجودة في النصرانية وأكثر وأكثر، لكن أحيانا يتلاعب بفكر هذا العهد الجديد والعهد القديم. والنصارى يؤمنون بالعهد القديم كما يؤمنون بالعهد الجديد، وأن من أتى لهم بالعهد الجديد إنما هو أراد أن يكمل ولم يأتي بأي تشريع نهائيا. ولن تجد في العهد الجديد أي تشريع بالتحريم أو بالحلال أو بما يشبه ذلك، إنما هي كلام يتم بها، ولو أنهم يقولون أنه دين المحبة، لكن رأينا في الواقع أن هذا مجرد كلام. حينما أراد بوش أن يحارب في العراق ويستولي على خيراتها وكذلك في أفغانستان، استعمل حرب المقدس يقدسها الرب، وهو نصراني. وهذا الأخ مسلم، هو يعني تعلمه الفيزياء ويدرس دين الإسلام، وسبحان الله العظيم اسمه دانيال حقيقتوجو تقريبا، تقطع مزيان ولا لا، الله أعلم. سبحان مبدل الأحوال. سنأتي بالآخر، أخ الآخر، وهو أصله نصراني، أسلم ويدافع عن الدين وتخصصه الفلسفة. هذا هو الأخ جيد مايكل تاور، وهو مسلم ويدافع عن الدين الإسلامي. وسيفحمون النصارى، حيث النصارى حاول استعمال قضية التي تكلمت عليها وهي حكم الردة، ثم الإخوان الفاضلين آتوا بحكم الردة في العهد القديم، وحاول حبابي ومن معه التهرب، بل آتوا بنصوص التي تقول أن تقلع الشجر وقتل الشيخ، قتل النساء وحتى الأطفال. فحاول حبابي أن يهرب أنه العهد القديم. الحمد لله أنهم أفحموا النصرانيين بالأدلة من كتابهم، حيث سكت ولم يعرف كيف يجيب. وهذه قوة ديننا الحمد لله، مهما حاول الآخر أن يخرج فيه العيب، فدين الله كامل وليس ناقص وليس فيه من عيب. نسمع للأخ والرد على قضية التي طرحها رشيد.
Yes, we do. Why? Because our claim is that we are actually faithful to our scriptures. You guys are not. You want to avoid the Old Testament, and I want to give you an analogy, Patrick, because you're a business guy. You have many businesses, okay? And you have policies that you have to put in place based on social interaction in the workplace and all that kind of stuff. Now, you may make amendments to those policies based on new data, new information, how things are actually going based on those things that you put in place. Now, when you do, right, and this is the analogy between the Old Testament and the New Testament, are you willing to say that, well, yeah, thinking to myself, yeah, Pat, yeah, you were wrong, actually, when you said it was okay to do such and such. That was actually wrong, and you then put in the correct one. With the Bible, the problem that you have is the same one that you want to talk about, the loving Jesus Christ himself, which we also adore and respect as a prophet, is the same one that you believe is God and revealed the Old Testament. And you can't get out of that. So when your God, Jesus, revealed at that specific time, as I just read the passage, and I can read you plenty more, where he says to kill babies in war. Is it okay to target infants in war and kill babies? Is that inherently immoral? The problem that you have is if you go on, and this is why the argument is so important, it's not a tu quoque just as a fallacious argument. It's checking for your consistency as a Christian, whether or not you're actually faithful to your own text and tradition. And the reality is you're not. Why? You have two options. If you condemn it as inherently immoral, then the whole Bible's gone. Because if you believe that those verses in the Bible were revealed by God, then you're saying that God is immoral. And on the other hand, if you say that it's not inherently immoral, but God changed the law at this time, then most of your arguments lose the force that they have against Islam, because you can no longer argue that it is inherently immoral to punish an apostate by death and all of the other things that you want to tack on. This is why it's so important. It's not a fallacious argument, and the reality is we want to stick to our text and our tradition, and for the most part, we would argue that the Christians have abandoned them in favor of secular, liberal, moral ideology.
Let me every grievance that he has against Islam. Let's take it step by step. But just on this point of violence, I think Jake makes really the crucial point. It's that Jesus, according to the Christian belief, Jesus is the God of the Old Testament. And he's the one who's commanding Moses, for example, to ethnically cleanse the Canaanites or the Amalekites or all of these other tribes, and to conduct conquest and war, to take girls as slaves, to take virgins as slaves. This is in the Old Testament, sure. So Christians have to deal with that moral problem. A lot of Christians, unfortunately, they just throw the Bible under the bus. And how is that justified? But it's not just the Old Testament. It's also the New Testament. The New Testament also endorses slavery. The New Testament also has the book of Revelation, where Jesus is going to come. Which, by the way, Muslims also believe that Jesus is the Messiah. He is the born of the Virgin Mary, and he's going to come as the Messiah to establish God's kingdom on earth. Muslims also.
هنا يتضح لي العلم النور والحكمة لمن أعطاها الله سبحانه وتعالى. يعني حاول رشيد الغروب ويعني إظهار الإسلام أنه فيه حكم الردة، لكن الإخوان جزاهم الله خير ردوا بقوة وأتوا بالأمور في العهد القديم وكذلك العهد الجديد. يعني هنا لتوضيح العهد الجديد والعهد القديم، يعني التوراة والإنجيل، لكن على كلام النصارى هكذا يقال.
Very violent affair, and that's in the Muslim tradition and the Hadith, and it's also in the book of Revelation. So Jesus is also very violent. And then finally, you have canon law. You have the church tradition. So if Robert wants to denounce canon law, because when you have canon law, it has slavery, it has a marriage age of 12 years old in canon law, it has punishments for blasphemy, it has even striking the wife, the disobedient wife. That's found in canon law from Gratian. So I believe that Robert is an Orthodox Christian. If he wants to denounce canon law and denounce his own tradition, he can denounce that. He can denounce Jesus himself. He can denounce the Old Testament. He can denounce the Bible. The New Testament, that's fine. That's fine. He says that, oh, well, our religion adapts. Our religion changes. But that's actually the problem, Patrick. You know, when we're talking about wokeism, when we're talking about, like, if you can say that, oh, well, you know, that's the Old Testament is for those times. It's not applicable now, right? That's the argument. The violence, the killing of blasphemers, that's for old times. We've changed, but Muslims are not willing to change. I say, yeah, Muslims are willing to stand by revelation. The problem with a lot of Christians, not all Christians, a lot of Christians, Jews, Hindus, they all have these practices in their books. Buddhists, they all have these practices, and they're pressured to change and update. And so why, if you can get rid of the conquest and the violence and the punishment for apostasy, why not just get rid of the prohibition of, like, cross-dressing, the prohibition of homosexuality, the prohibition of drag queens? Why prohibit any of that? Like, maybe times are different. Maybe we need to adopt drag queen story hour in our church. Maybe we need to adopt, you know, all of these woke practices. Why not?
أنا فين رشيد كي بيض بيضاء العش وبيضاء خارج العش الفتلة الجريء.
Nobody was given additional topics or you just kind of came in, we're going to talk, we're going to have this discussion. Again, I respect you guys for doing this. I think the part I agree with Daniel, and it could be a leak, it could be a flaw, or it could be a strength as well as the following. What I'm noticing between the two faiths is one seems to be more intolerant, and the other one's more tolerant. Let me unpack that from my perspective. For the longest time since I
المهم حتى لا يطول الفيديو، لمن أراد يعني محاضرة كاملة في موجودة على قنوات يوتيوب موجودة. وحياكم الله جميعا والحمد لله رب العالمين.